everybody, how's it going? It is Saturday, January 15th, 2022, and if you're new to my channel, my name is Melissa. My channel's name is Geeky Witch, and this is about all things cross-stitch in my life. It's been a couple of weeks, and I figured I'd just do an update of what's been going on in my stitchy life and things that I've been seeing that are kind of cool around the stitchy world. So let's get started on it. I have had a fairly busy couple of weeks of stitching. I celebrated my birthday in the last couple of weeks, so I'm now on my 47th turn around the sun. I'm involved in two groups that have some fairly active stitching going on. I've got the one that I help run, which is Stitch All the Things, and there's a bunch of different stitch-alongs going on there. And then I'm part of Semi-Sane Stitchers, and I'm participating in the Choose My WIP stitch along, which is every week you post, like 2 or 3 projects that you want to get some work on. Everyone that's participating in the project votes which one is going to be your focus for the week, and then you do some work on it. I am doing the non-counting version because I just want to relax and enjoy my stitching, but it's making nice progress. I also did my birthday start for the year, and of course there is WIPGO, which this weekend is the first WIPGO weekend. If you're not familiar with what WIPGO is, I'll get to that in a second and show you my board and show you kind of how it works. So, stitching. All right, so I started off for the year. I've got Jade Sampler. This is it's a surprise sampler, a mystery stitch along, but it has been completed, so I'm way behind on this thing. I am on week 10 of 30. I'm stitching this on 28 count banding, 2 threads over 2 with different greens from Amaranthine Stitch on Etsy. I've linked her before on other videos, but I'll do so again. So they're all different overdyed flosses just to give the illusion of jade. Like I said, I'm on week 10. So there's a decent amount. I don't know if you can see this too well, but it's looped around there pretty well, but I've got a whole lot more to go on this. My goal, this is one of my WIPGO goals this month, and I'm hoping to get through 4 weeks of the stitch along by the end of January, just to really push this forward, because, as I said, this wrapped up like, I want to say August last year. So I'd like to get through week 14, but I do have all year to really push through this. So this is one of the pieces ideally I'd like to get done this year. So it's, oh, hi Tobe. Pardon the cat drive-by. Go on, get in your box. Okay. Toby hangs out with me all day while I work, and I have a cardboard box on the corner of my desk, so he won't sit on my keyboard all day to be the center of attention. It seems to work out pretty well. So that's Jade. The next Choose Your WIP that I worked on is The Fruit of Plenty by excuse me, Modern Folk Embroidery. This was a non-mystery stitch along last year, and it was released in 12 parts, but it is obviously now all available because it's no longer 2021. I started off great on this, and then I kind of struggled to keep going last year, so I'm still kind of in that quasi-January, February mode, but since it's now done, I'm not really sticking strictly to each month. I'm kind of just letting myself go where my stitching is taking me. So let me get all of my details. I have my notes for the 24-hour cross stitch for every single project I'm working on, so I can easily tell you what's going on here. Oop, I picked up 2 projects. Okay, so this is where I'm at on the Fruit of Plenty. This is, come here, go around my arm. Okay. So most of this is January here. It goes a little bit down into April here. And then this stuff on this side is going into February. So I'm just I'm now stitching like by motif where it makes sense, where my thread actually wants to go, as opposed to stopping mid-motif, you know, like you would have to when it was released month over month. It feels more natural to me. So that's where that is. I started this last year on my birthday, and I'm stitching this on 40 count Newcastle linen, 1 thread over 2. It's Silk Weaver Antique Ivory, and I'm using DMC colors 840 and 800 for the whole thing. The 800 is the blue, the 840 is the brown. So those will be my 2 colors all the way through. I love my color scheme on here. It's coming up pretty close to true, actually, with the light that I have right now in the room. And, you know, the fabric is just like one of the best neutrals out there. So, really happy with that. Hoping that I can make some great progress on that this year. Put that to the side. Okay. So here I will pause and do a little bit of WIPGO, because the next piece is one that I haven't stitched on yet, but we'll be stitching on in the next couple of days. So WIPGO was started by a girl named Jessie, and it essentially is a bingo board. So you have 25 squares. The center square normally is a free space on a bingo board, but you know, if you want to put a project there, you can. I have it as a free space to start something new. And then what happens is you list 25 or 24 goals. It can be different projects. It can be however you want. If you're only working on one project, you could just have like work 4 hours on this, or do this motif, or stitch in blue. You know, you could be really creative with whatever your goals are on this. It's not set to, oh, I can't do it if I don't have a whole ton of whips. Your board is your own, and you choose how you want to set it up and what is a challenging but reasonable goal for yourself. You don't want to have 25 finishes. You want to have things that you can accomplish to make you feel good about your stitching for the year. So I will post, it's kind of hard obviously to read on a screen. I will post my WIPGO board on my blog today, but so I have 24 pieces. And then what happens is on approximately the 27th of the month, Jessie pulls 2 numbers, 3 numbers if the number 13 comes up. And those 2 numbers become the focuses, your focus goals for the next month. So on December 27th, she pulled number 2 and number 19, which on my board winds up being Mute But Not Silent by Amy Mitten and the Jade Sampler by iStitch. So I highlighted them in there. And then I have, since I have a ton of whips, I actually have 24 different pieces here. Okay. But then underneath them, I have my goals of what I want to accomplish on each. And they're all different. Some of it, because last year I did this and I had do 1,000 stitches on each piece, which is fine for a goal. But the problem was then I would wind up, like I got to my Jeanette Douglas, which is a ton of specialty stitches, and counting all the legs of all the, it became a pain in the butt. And that's kind of where I fell off on my WIPGO, because all of a sudden I ran into the pieces where one goal for all of my pieces didn't quite work right. So this year I have different goals for everything. In the case of Amy Mitten, the goal is to finish part 1 of the sampler, because that was done as a class and there were 3 parts in the class. So I want to get done through the first part of the class. My Jade Sampler goal, I have stitch 4 weeks of the stitch along. which again, totally different goal, but something that is fairly reasonable. Other ones that I have on here, for example, on And They Sinned, is to finish the Cloud of Doom. I have on Egyptian Sampler, my goal is simply, Egyptian Sampler is a Wensler, so nothing simple. All the back stitching in the center panel. I have on number 9, I have any unfinished any finished round robin project from Celebration of Needlework, which is my goal is to stitch and fully finish one project because they're all smalls. So that one's a finish. Some of them I do have stitches, of counting stitches. I mixed it all up so that I had different goals I was going for and something that just made sense for each individual piece. Reasonable goals, a little bit of a challenge, but not anything that's going to overwhelm me or go, oh, this sucks. Why did I choose to do this? You know. So it's free to participate. You do not have to just stick to cross stitch. If you quilt, if you knit, if you crochet, if you diamond paint, any of that stuff, you could mix that in on your thing if you want. You could put rewards on it if you want. I don't, because my reward is the stitching. That's how I choose to. But some people did do, you know, if you finished a certain number of them, you allowed yourself to spend a certain amount at the cross stitch store or whatever. All up to you. There is a Facebook group called WIPGO 2022 that you can join. Jessie is also on here on YouTube to explain how it all works. I'll link her FlossTube below. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's something that, I mean, it's your own goals. So just something to stretch through the year. You don't have to get it all done in the month that it's called. It's by the end of the year. I am shooting to try to get them done in the month that they're called, but I'm allowing myself some grace, of course, to move things over because life happens. All right, so that's my WIPGO spiel. So I showed you my Jade Sampler already, where I've mostly finished one section of the stitch along. I've got 3 other weeks to go on that one. The other piece I have is Mute But Not Silent. This is by Amy Mitten, and I took this as a class with the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild in September. It is a gorgeous piece in Dutch style. It is not a reproduction sampler, but it is a original design, but the symbols on it have a disappearance mystery in them as part of the class. So that's where the parts in the class where there's a story that goes along with it, and each section of the story was a part. So really cool piece. It's done entirely in silks that Amy dyes herself. And let me get where my start is. My start is not all that exciting right now, but I don't have a ton done. I do have it basted so I can count because the parts bounce around a little bit. I never baste things, but I did for this class. So I have just the start of the very first section. I'm upside down. Oops. All right, there we go. Much better. His hat's on the top, not on the bottom. So this is the very first motif, which, if I bring this up here, is the man standing here. So that's where I am on that. My goal for that is part 1, which is a decent amount of stitching, but I definitely, over the course of the year, don't think I'm going to have any issue doing that. There is a lot of backstitching, double running stitch type work on this. Lots of little curly-Q details on the motifs, but a really cool stitch. And it looks like for the semi-sane Choose My Whip that this is going to be my piece for the entire week this week. So I'm going to make a nice dent in it, I think. Here's hoping. So this is stitched on 32 count antique ivory, Belfast from Zweigart. The silks are the kitted silks. They're from Amy's company called Fibers to Die For, DYE, and they're all named after like murder mystery type phrases. So if you need a little joke in with your stitching, go to her site. They are a little pricey, but beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fibers. And the kits are quite expensive, but if you have the cash and you enjoy that kind of stitching, go for it. So that's that one. Then that's my WIPGOs. So the other two pieces I've started, these are both new starts in the last couple of weeks. Actually, I'll put this one next because that's my birthday start. First one is of course, I have the Jade Band Sampler. This year is the Denim Band Sampler from iStitch. And this is my start. This is week 1 plus the beginning of the band for week 2. I'm again doing this on 28 count banding. This time it has a very thin dark blue border just on the edge. And I'm stitching this in a combination of 3 types of floss. It's DMC 312 for, well, it's kind of tucked up in there, but the line here and then the zigzag that on the border down. Currently, all I have on here for overdyes are both from Mo's Sale on Facebook. It's Embu and Angol. Embu is the dark blue, Angol is the light blue. And I was a little worried about the amount of floss I had for the entire thing, so I picked up a couple of skeins of the denim from Hand Dyed by Rolanda, which I've never stitched with, but they look absolutely beautiful. So that's where that is. And like I said, week 1, I think it's another 30-parter, so it's gonna finish up in August-ish. This is a pay-for stitch along. You can go to her website, iStitch Designs. I'm not sure if she's still taking signups for denim, but I imagine she probably is. Previous editions of the stitch along are also on her website, so you can find like amethyst, you can find black, you can find ruby. There's about 5 or 6 of them now. They're all very long band samplers. You can choose to either do them over 2 like I am or over 1. If you want an example of over 1, you want to go over to my friend Amy Gable's Stitcher. She did the denim band sampler and the Jade band sampler and the burgundy band sampler over 1, and she's got those on her FlossTube. But you know, it's just a nice relaxing stitch. Comes out every Friday. For right now, I'm up to date. I'm sure I'll fall behind, which is fine, but I'm going to try to keep up with this as best as I can this year and keep up on the weeks. Cross his fingers. And my final start for January, and this is going to be the last start for a while. January always is kind of the month where I go a little bit nuts and start a whole bunch of things, and then I get to like halfway through the year and go, oh, I've got a lot of stitching to do now. Crap. Okay, let me work on this now. So this is Hyperborea. Oh, it's not coming in well. This is Hyperborea from Owl Forest Embroidery. It is a kit. You can get each, it's 3 different pieces that have been combined. So you can get just the square with the bear, just the square with the owl, or just the square with the snow lynx. Or you can get all 3 of them like I did in a kit. And I started this on my birthday this week. And of course my needle minders are sticking to each other, which is always unhelpful. So as you can see, long piece of fabric because it's for all 3. She gives you the option, the amount of fabric, so that you can, even though you're doing all 3 of them combined, that you could do them separately so you could frame them as a triptych. I haven't decided yet which way I'm going to go, but I'm leaning towards doing them all together. We shall see, though. So that's where I am. I'm on, obviously, the owl in the dead center. It's been so long since I've started things in the dead center of a piece that it used to be my natural way of starting, and now I'm like, how do I start in the middle of the piece? Like, this is feeling so strange now because I've been doing so many pieces with borders, so I always am starting in the top corner. This is on 32 count Zweigart. It's the Murano fabric, so it's an even weave fabric that's like half cotton, and I think it's viscose. And then her flosses, here are the ones that I haven't bobbinated yet, but aren't these pretty? She does them all herself, and they all have the symbol from the chart already on the bobbin for you, which is just ingenious in my opinion. Love it. I hate breaking into these because they're so pretty. Just the way they're packaged is so pretty. But yeah, so this will be going into my rotation. So now I have 2 Owl Forest in rotation. And those are my updates for right now. Let's see, other things going on in the stitching world. On Stitch All the Things, there's been a thing going on lately where everybody is listing their pile of WIPs, all their unfinished projects, and I'm going to be participating in that. I used to have a list on my blog, and then of course wiped it over New Year's weekend. So I will be putting that back together at some point in the next few days and building that out on my blog, and also I'll probably post it in the group. If you can see behind me, I've got a pile of a disaster over here. That is this weekend's project. The roll top desk you see over there in the corner where my hand is currently glowing, that is being moved out to our living room for my son to do distance learning and just some general like storing his craft supplies and whatnot. And I have new furniture coming in here that's much more practical for me for storing my stitching stuff. So this weekend I am cleaning out that desk, we're getting the furniture moved in, and then I'm putting all of my charts on shelves and putting all of my WIP boxes away. It's going to be glorious. I'm going to actually have like a craft room. I can't wait. And then comes the real hard part of making sure my catalog of my chart is up to date, but that's later. For right now, it's just getting organized and putting stuff away, and then I'll start really sorting and doing that kind of stuff. So that's the big long weekend project over here. I seriously can't wait. I look forward to having a craft room again. I haven't had one since I, by necessity, had to bail out of mine when my son was born because my craft room became his bedroom. Fair trade-off, of course, but I've been needing a space of my own. So looking forward to having it truly be mine, and my next video will show you where that's all come to. So yeah, that's it for me for right now. Have a good weekend. Happy stitching to everybody, and I'll see you in the next week or two. Take care. Bye.